you are listening, right? It's true.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so a lot of people have questions about coaching, how you got into it. What's the difference between a coach and a mentor? Do you want to touch on that real quick?
Yeah, for sure. So the way I got into coaching was, like I said, I met Michael Burnoff, and I went back to his events, right? I personally worked on my stuff. I got better. And I will encourage you, like one reason I chose coaching was because I knew that if I was going to sit across a table next to somebody and say like, hey, you got to do this, like, and this is something I've always told any coach we've hired, if you are not doing the work, you will not tell somebody else to do the work, because you come off inauthentic, and that's going to be bullshit for that person.
For sure.
So I realized that the best vehicle that I could see for me to become the best me was going to be a coach, because if I knew every day I had to sit across from somebody, that means each day I got to get up and get better. Right? If somebody asks me who I am, I will tell you, like, I'm a person that wants to go to bed better than when they woke up. That's it. I don't have a lot of expectations like about who I need to be. That's who I am. I want to go to bed better than when I woke up. So I got into coaching because I worked with Michael, went back and helped his events, became like leadership of leadership. And he just said, hey, what do you want to do? And I said, I'd love to help people. And he said,
Chris, hold it a little bit away from the desk.
Slow down a tiny
Slow
bit.
down?
Yeah. It's so hard. It's so hard for him.
Directions. Okay. So I will slow down and pull it away from my mouth. And so really, the reason I got into coaching was because I went back, worked on this stuff with Michael, kept getting better, and he just said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to help people like you do. And he said, you should go do that. I didn't know what that meant. But he said there's an opportunity out there and he said, don't just help people with addiction. Like, that's just too small. Like, there's so many people out there that need help. So luckily, I moved up to Utah, and I met Jared, and I knew the word coach, and I knew that, to me, that meant somebody that helps you get better. And so that's the reason I chose coaching. The difference between, I think, mentoring and coaching is mentoring is only if you've done, like, what that person, like, right? You usually get a mentor that's in that specific field, right? Business, whatever it may be. Where coaching is about, I don't really want to help you on business. I don't want to help you get sober. Like, my goal is not to get you sober. My goal is to help you become the person you want to be. And I think coaching is about who you want to become. Like I said, it's not what you do, it's what you become. And that's the difference for me. Like, mentoring is just like, cool, like, I can get a better job. I can do this thing, I can do that thing that's specifically to that mentoring. I want to see you live the life fulfilled and that you want, and that means you becoming the best version of you, because you will never get what you want if you do not become the best version of you. That's my belief. I don't know if that answered the question for whoever it was. If it didn't, come back next week. I won't be here, but come back. Somebody will be here.
That's perfect. Okay, so one of the things that you and I talk about a lot is pain. One of the things that we come to substance abuse hiding from is pain. Tell me your relationship to pain now.
Okay.
And maybe how it's different than it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, like in the past, I would just run from pain, right? Like, the thing that is the most common for me to the rest of the world is we do not want to feel pain. We don't want to have those emotions. We don't understand how to use them. We don't understand how to feel them and yet still be okay. Pain is the greatest teacher. I'm going to be honest. Like, if you go to like somebody that's in personal development, they'll say like, you got to have the vision. I agree. You got to have the vision. Yet most of us are not pulled by the vision enough to make a change. But we can be like the boiling frog, right? We can either sit in the water and boil ourselves to death, or we can take the pain and jump in that pot of boiling water and jump out. And pain is what gives us the growth. Does pain suck? Yep. Does pain show me, like, to me, I look, and anything I look at, I go like, what is the pain point? Because that's where the growth is going to come from. The growth doesn't come from the simple, safe place. And in the past, I would have run from that. I didn't want to feel it. I already felt a ton of pain, and like, I just felt stuck. But when you can actually choose, right, like, one of my favorite things is choose your hard. When you can choose your hard.
Changed my life.
Amen.
I got one.
Amen.
Right? One follower. Yes. No, just joking. I love it. Thank you, Shane. But choose your heart. When you choose something, instead of it being thrust upon you, now you're thrust upon it. It changes your dynamic. It changes your focus. Pain is the greatest thing that's ever existed. We would say, like, death is the greatest thing that's ever existed. It gives life meaning. If you don't have pain, go find some, because it'll make you shift what you're doing.
Yeah,
Cool.
I love it. We talk a lot about pain being like the teacher, right? Pain is the greatest motivator. I think if we can make that shift from running from pain to leaning into it and almost running towards it, I always find that like the biggest thing on the other side of pain is a better version of ourselves.
Always.
Right? And pain is a great teacher. I want to talk a little bit more about your story. A huge part of your story that you I love Chris's story because he lives it and he shares it with no shame. Even though I think there's parts of his story that if they're part of your story, you might feel shame about. One of the parts of your story is pornography.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. You want
We
to?
were besties. You know what I'm saying? Like,
The
I did
amounts
that
of
more
pornography.
Yeah, you don't even know how much porn I watch. My wife's here, so she probably knows, but she wasn't part of that lifestyle, but yeah.
Talk a little bit about that and like what
Shit.
that was in your life.
That's the hardest thing ever. Like, you guys think you're addicted to drugs? Try some porn. Like, for me, I mean, the guy that molested me showed me porn the first time, right? Like 5. It's always good, like I said, good time to start. Then I just remember being home, like 6th grade, like I knew my brother had porn mags, and I would run, like I got out of school before him, I'd get on my bike, I'd ride home, it was such a good motivator. I could get home so quickly because I was trying to get porn before he got home, so I could hide it back. Man, just porn ate me alive. Like I lost myself, like I lost so much value. I lost myself in drugs too, because every time I told myself I wasn't gonna do something, I did it, like I disproved my willingness and my ability, what I really thought of myself. Man, and then I don't know about you guys, but porn and drugs, they went hand in hand for me. And like sex is not something we're gonna get away from, right? Like I'm assuming you guys all wanna have sex, like no judgment if you don't. But like drugs aren't something I'm gonna do, but I made the baby back there with Mel, and that happened from sex. No shocker, I'm sure everybody here. But porn was just so hard. Like it gave me a different view of what I thought sex was. It gave me a different view of what I thought of myself. Like it's they say it's a slippery slope. I'll say it's a slippery timeline. Like the more and more I did it, the darker and darker it got. The more and more I got into it, the more and more weird shit I got into. If you want to discuss that afterwards, I can tell you all the weird shit I'm into. It just shifted my whole existence, and it made me feel so worthless because it's something I didn't want to do. Like in reality, like obviously there's always like, well, you want to do it. Sure, some of it, but some of it also was just became a habit. Like a lot of the drinking drugs, it wasn't even like, man, I'm not gonna sit like you gotta label yourself. Like don't let fucking people label you. I'm not an addict. Like I'm a person that like had created a great habit of showing myself that I don't do what I say I'm gonna do. And I kept picking up drink after drink, cocaine after cocaine, porn after porn. But it was one of those things that just was like, I got over drugs and alcohol even than I got over pornography.
So if pornography is something that you struggle with, reach out to Chris. It's the thing, that and like sex is the thing that I think is like the deeper underbelly of addiction and recovery. It's like we're all comfortable saying, I'm a fucking heroin addict and I shoot heroin. But God forbid I talk about the fact that like I watch a lot of porn or I am super unhealthy in the way that I approach, relationships.
And I told you the other day, even when we were talking about this, I said, the crazy part is, like, I gotta go buy alcohol, I gotta go buy cocaine, but I can go get porn for free.
Yeah.
Like, nobody knows. Like, usually, like, if I'm drinking enough, like, if I have my wife or somebody right there smell it, like, they'll notice some white stuff hanging out of my nose because I'm not the greatest about getting rid of that, before I leave the room. So, but like, porn, like, it disappears, like, nobody knows. And if you know how to use the internet right, it definitely disappears. So, that's really, it's the dark soul that just eats us alive because we still feel like, man, I want to do this. Like, I want sex. but it also disconnected me from so many people. It disconnected me from girlfriends that I had that called me that said that they didn't want to do it. And I'll tell you this right now, like, if you think you're going to get a wife or a husband and it's going to stop you from doing it, it won't. Because it has nothing to do with the person that like caught me. She wasn't enough. And I like watched enough porn to prove to myself she wasn't enough.
So what did you do to start to like face that demon?
I mean, again, I think first and foremost, you always have to admit the issue. Like to yourself first, right? Then you have to admit it to others. Self-talk is a huge thing, right? You got to start to learn how you talk to yourself, and after you do that, you have to start using. And again, like, do I want to watch porn? Sure, there's still days I want to watch porn. There's hours where I want to watch porn. There's moments where I want to watch porn, and I have to understand that and accept that, right? Whatever you resist must persist. So if I fight it, if I'm a person that loves fucking chocolate cake, and I think about cake all the time. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to eat the cake, yet I eat some cake, right? Like, anytime you resist something, you're in a battle in your own mind. But at least when I accept it, go like, man, I do want to watch some porn. Man, I feel really uncomfortable. I start to understand, like, why do I want to watch porn? Why do I want to do drugs? Because there's some feeling that I don't want to feel that I'm trying to get rid of. I go for a run. As much as I hate running, I go for a run. Like, there was a day, this is going to be a different topic, but there was a day, I don't know, 3 months ago or so, and I was like, man, you know what? I really feel like drinking. This is honest truth. And I was like, I'm going to go get some alcohol. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to get out of the car and I'm going to go run. Go run some miles, come back. If I still want alcohol, I'm going to honor that. I'm going to go get some alcohol. I'm not suggesting this for anybody else, right? Like, don't be crazy if you don't want to. Then after I got home, I was like, I feel much better. But I wanted to just go get alcohol because I felt uncomfortable. I want to watch porn because it's that itch in your brain you can't get rid of. But if you keep itching it, it's never going to go away. That's the reason you gotta embrace the pain. You gotta embrace the suck. It's tough. It sucks. It just shows you who you are and what you can go through. It makes you stronger.
Talk a little bit about self-talk. If you at all have worked with Chris or you work with somebody who's worked with Chris, you will start to understand the power of self-talk. Talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, nothing matters to me besides self-talk. Like when I wanted to quit and I met Michael, we were on a phone call and he's like, what do you normally say to yourself about quitting? And I'm like, I'm not going to drink today. And he's like, cool, that's really awesome, man. It's a great statement. Except your subconscious mind doesn't receive don'ts. So what you're saying to yourself is, I'm going to drink today. He's like, I used to drink and do drugs in the past is what I tell myself, because it puts it in the past. And if you repeat that to yourself enough, your brain starts to believe it. Because your subconscious mind, the reason like people want you to binge watch shows and this reason it's so powerful is because your brain starts to go like, hey, this person's my friend. Like, I'm watching Dawson's Creek. That's because that's how it went. But like, Dawson, he's gonna date that girl. I wonder if they broke up this week. Because they're my friend. So self-talk wise, we have to understand like our subconscious mind doesn't understand the difference between like no's and don'ts. So I started to learn how to speak to myself differently. It's evolved a lot over the years, and I will say that the greatest thing you can do, just like with the resist and must persist, you got to meet yourself where you're at. Right? Like if I said like, hey, come over here. You don't have to because you're doing the Facebook Live. Will you come over here? Okay. Now go back. Okay, so what did she do when she came over here? She met me where I'm at, right? She came over to me. We got to meet ourselves where we're at. We got to go like, how do I, hey, you know what? Like, I fucking suck. But I can get better. Right? Keyword is but. Like, there's keys in these words to use. We go over deep into this, but we don't have the time. But you got to, like, I would say first and foremost, you got to observe, right? Become the observer with less judgment. Like, hey, I fucking suck at this. That's okay. How do I get better? Right? That's a powerful statement to our brain. If I'm just like, man, I fucking suck, I'm a horrible person, like, that's not helpful. Like, cool, I reinforce the belief. But it was like, man, you know what? I feel like a horrible person right now. Like, what can I do to help myself feel better? Give your brain some access to, like, the power that it has. By saying, like, by admitting how you really feel, because there's no resistance to that, right? Your brain goes like, that's true. I feel like shit. Okay, cool. How do I feel a little bit better? And make it simple, make it easy. Like, ask yourself how you do it a little bit more and stop, like, trying to fight it and accept it and life will get a lot better over time. My goal is 1% better. But the first and foremost step of any self-talk is you gotta observe what you're saying to yourself. Because if you're like, I fucking hate myself, and then you're like, I'm the best person ever, your brain goes, bullshit. Right? You know, when people say affirmations, like, I don't care if you love affirmations or not. But if you go in the mirror and you're like, I love myself, in the back of their mind, you're like, no, I don't hate myself. You're not meeting yourself where you're at, so now you're creating resistance. But if you're like, you know what, I really don't feel great about myself today, but I can start to love myself a little bit more. There's power in that. But observe what you're saying. Like, observe with less judgment. I'm not saying judge, like no judgment. Observe with less judgment. We all judge ourselves. Let's be honest. But observe, and then observe some more. And then when you're ready, start to like create an avenue for your brain to go like, yep, I'm not great at this, I suck, I'm the worst, whatever it is. Yeah, I can get a little bit better. How do I do that? Ask intelligent questions.
So, and when we talk about self-talk, this is not affirmations. This is not stand in front of the mirror. I love myself. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and people like me. It's not that. That's
not the SNL story. It's smart.
Right.
Gosh darn it, people like.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't believe that, it's not true. So.
And I don't think that works. Self-talk that Chris has taught me is I write about something that I want to become, right? When I first started working with Chris, I thought that what I needed in my life was to feel more confident in who I was as a person. Chris, absolutely. If I can just feel more confident, then I'll have everything. And I feel like maybe I started to feel less confident as we started working together. So if you have a coach or you have a therapist who you feel like your life gets a little bit harder because of them or where they're challenging you and taking you to, you're in the right fucking place, right? So self-talks are about what I want to become, what Correct. You want to become.
Written as they already exist.
Written as if they already exist.
Correct.
Right? So I used to be this victim to, I had a very like emotionally closed off and neglectful mom. And I prescribed most of my life to, if she would have loved me more, I wouldn't be in the position that I am. I wouldn't hate myself as much as I do. I wouldn't have turned to alcohol. I would feel good about myself and I would make better decisions with men and whatever it is, right? That was what I thought. It's because of her that I hate myself. And I remember Chris challenging me and he's like, why are you a victim to your mom? Why are you a victim? And I heard that and I was like, I'm not a fucking victim, right? It's like a moment, like that feels weak and I don't want to be a victim. And then I observed it and I felt that like uncomfortableness and I was like, holy shit, I'm a victim. And so what did I want to be instead? I wanted to be an overcomer, right? And I have the self-talk, the very first self-talk we wrote, I am an overcomer because I've done hard shit. And as I continue to do hard things, I feel empowered. And as I feel empowered, I feel strong and I feel confident and I remember who I really am. Right? And the reason that that works is because I listen to that shit all the time. We recorded it. He put it on a file. It's like, I don't know, 5 minutes. There's like beautiful music in the background Chris put there. And I listen to that when my subconscious is the most open. And those words are now the words that I speak to myself, right? Those are the words that I hear. So self-talk is powerful. If you want to do it, first start observing how it is that you are really talking to yourself, and then find a coach, find Chris, find anybody who has done that works with us, and we will get you in the podcast room. We will show you how to write that because it will change your life faster than anything else.
I love that.
Yeah. I want to talk about awareness. Your famous statement is your awareness is fucking you up.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because it's true. So the reason I say awareness fucks you up is because most of us are very aware of what we want. You guys agree? Like, oh man, I want to be sober. Oh man, like I want $1 million. Oh man, I want this, I want that. Yeah, like if you want something, you have a lack of it. So instantly your vibrational frequency of like your energy inside your body is lack. So that's a great place to start if you want more lack. Yeah, I will tell you, like we all have stories. 50% of them ain't even true. The other 50 you made up, like because you're a different person than you were back then, so you made up a story about it. Like all the shit I told you guys, don't make up stories. I mean, they were real, but it just saying like I'm interpreting them from a person that's 38 years old, not a person that's 5 getting a lesson. So it's a way different experience. Yet if I go like, man, I want to be better at this. Like my awareness is that I don't have that and I lack that. And when she talks about like, she came and she's like, I want confidence. I'm like, cool, you're never gonna have that. That sucks. Like enjoy that, but you won't if you keep chasing confidence. Because you're full, like in our brain we have folders. And in our brain we go like, hey, I want more confidence. And you reference that folder, your brain goes like, hey, no, I'm not gonna do the whole thing that you do when I'm coaching. I'm like, hey, no problem. Like, let's pull out the file. And it says like, you're not confident, you suck, like life is hard, you suck at life, right? There's all these like negative things that are tied into it. You gotta create a new file. You gotta find for it. You gotta go to the past file where you're like, man, I've done this in my past, and I don't remember. Like I don't use that memory enough, right? Because we all have past memories, and what most of them go to is we go to the past to get like to prove ourselves how not great we are. Yeah, we all have past memories that make us feel outstanding. We don't remember. We don't spend a lot of time with them, so they get farther and farther pushed back. Your brain has to search harder to find them. Yet, when we went to the overcomer file, there's like all these good things. And she starts to like pour them in the overcomer file, because she didn't have the overcomer file, we created it. And when she kept putting it in her brain more and more, she started to remember those more. It's amazing when she started to focus on things that made her feel good, she felt more confident. Yet most of the reason, again, I say that where this fucks you up is because most of us are going to the file that we want, and it shows lack. We don't go to that past file that goes like, this was one time, I did something, it doesn't have to be a lot, one time, I did this amazing thing. I want to call this file badass. I want to call this file like beautiful. Whatever it is. The more we reference that file, the more it gives us energy and power inside that we can go achieve any of our wants. But our focus is now on the abundance, not the lack.
Amen. All right, tell me, somebody had a great comment here. Explain more about your spirituality and how it's changed your life. We were just kind of referencing how your spirituality is different than, maybe like the traditional, I'm Mormon.
Yeah, okay, so the question was about
Spirituality. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will tell you, like, if you're LDS or not, I don't care, right? I don't care what you believe in. Believe in something more than yourself is what I'll encourage. If it's a rock, if it's water, like, go find it. Like, people will say, like, you shouldn't run on Sundays. I don't care. Like, if I feel God more when I go running, I'm going to go running. If I feel more of a connection to myself when I go running, I'm going to go running. I don't care what you tell me I should do. One thing I love about coaching, if you're with a good coach, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what you should think. I've been told most of my life, where that brought a lot of unhappiness. It was like, my parents like, you should do this, and I was so codependent, and I didn't know who I was, so I was like, I'm going to do that. That's a great idea, I should do that, because I had no idea what I need. Spirituality is a thing that you find for yourself. It does not, like, if you are like, I can't find my spirituality, I will tell you it's because you're trying to find somebody else's spirituality. Like, my view of God is different. It's vastly different than most people I go to church with, and I'm okay with that. Because it's my personal connection with him, her, thing, that, whatever you want to call it, source. And I will say it's much more about feeling than it is about anything else. Like, if you're in your head like, I can't find it, you're right, because you're trying to use your head to find it. But when you connect to a feeling, and like, whatever you want to call it, like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But find it inside, like, it's not outside. Like, I mean, like, I said running, I mean, like, not outside you. Right? It's inside you. If I believe God created all of us, if I believe God is like this purest energy, which I do, then I'm not going anywhere to search for him. I'm going inward to search for him. That's the power of it. Like, it is, God comes to us however we are, whatever way we look, whatever we believe. He's not asking you to be a certain way. He's asking you to find your way.
Boom.
Amen.
And when you find, Preach, preach. I've never been a Baptist church, but I want to go to one. So, can I get an amen? You know what I'm saying? When we stop looking, we find. Right? If we're always trying to find something, it means lost. We're not lost. None of us are lost. We just think we are. We find people who reflect that. They're like, oh yes, you're lost. Yeah. Find our church. Find our God. Find yourself. And you'll find what you're looking for. Because you'll stop looking and realize it's just sitting inside you. Wait for you. Wait for you to do what you need to do to get there. That's the peace in it. Like, there is nothing more than you. Love, it's all God. There's nothing more than you. You are enough. Like, God created you. He didn't say, like, when you do this, I'll love you. When you do this better, I'll love you. He said, I made you. I love you. Right? That was one of the greatest things I got from finding God. Was I could finally forgive myself. I could forgive others. And I realized, like, are there things that I do that make me feel closer to that like feeling? Yes. Are there things that I do that make me feel farther away? Yes. But no matter what I do, He loves me. And when I feel love for myself, I'm instantly connected to Him. Because He's the purest love to me.
I love that. Let's see. Would you go back and would you change anything in your past?
Yes.
What?
I would change. I mean, to be honest, I would just change my perspective quicker. Like, I wouldn't change anything that happened. Like, I'm not like, oh man, I wish I could get blessed. I'm grateful. Right? I'm not saying like, oh man, 17 years of using, I'm grateful. Oh man, the abuse, I'm grateful. Oh man, that dumped me, I'm grateful. Because I became grateful for all of it. And I love myself fully, and so I love the past, because it makes me who I am today. Would I change something? Yeah, I wish I would have had the perspective quicker. I'm grateful I had it when I did. Because I could be right. I could be sitting at my house, doing cocaine, drinking alcohol, and going like, fuck, what is life? I hate this. I don't have enough courage to kill myself, and I'm not saying it's courage, so maybe that's a wrong statement. But I don't have enough, like, I'm so afraid, right? I don't want to kill myself, I want something better, but I only feel like my opportunity to get out of this stuckness is killing yourself. It's the reason I don't judge anybody that like, ends up killing themselves, because they are so stuck, and their life has to be so hard. I can't even imagine going through that. I mean, I can because I felt like that at one point in my life, but I don't feel that way any longer. But I would change my perspective quicker if I had that opportunity, yet I went through all I went through to give me that perspective change. So I don't know how that may not even work, right? I may be a completely different person, so I love it, and I will say the only thing I would change if I had an option was perspective quicker.
I love that. In some of my groups, sometimes we'll do this thing with scarves and we layer them on, and it represents, you know, the shame or the stories that we've been told in our lives that we believe. And you look at that chair, and if that chair represents your truest self, all of those stories layered on top of it, you lose that truest self. And we think sometimes in recovery, I thought this, I still sometimes think this, I feel like if I can just notice, if I can just like, okay, these are all the things I'm shameful about, I'm just gonna like accept it, and I'm gonna like not feel bad about it, I will leave it behind, and I won't carry them with me anymore. And that's a fucking lie. We carry all of that with us because it is us. It made us who we are. And so it's, how do you make peace with the shame? How do you make peace with the things that have happened to you? Sometimes that looks like thanking it. Sometimes it looks like saying what it taught you. Sometimes it's none of those things, and sometimes it's just releasing it, right? But they're still there. They just no longer weigh you down. A couple questions about your running.
Cool.
It is, oh, I love these. Okay, so how do you just do it because I fucking hate running? That is not my question. It is a question. How do you do it?
I mean, again, it's. So
You have to balance the question.
Saving our own lives and this, saving people's
Oh my God. Okay, sorry. That's not the real question. Okay, the real question. The real question is, why is Phil Knight, if you don't know who Phil Knight, he is one of the founders of, creator. Yes. Why is Phil Knight your hero, and why is Nike your favorite shoe? It's not your favorite shoe to run in, but
Correct.
yes.
So, my favorite, the reason Phil Knight's so important, and if you guys have read Shoe Dog, go read it, or listen to it, whatever, however you consume your material, I don't care. Yeah, what I will tell you is it's important to consume this material. I'm going to ruin the ending, so if you don't want to hear the ending, earmuffs, spoiler alert, whatever it is. It gets to the end of Nike, and obviously Nike's still around, but he gets to the end of the book about talking about Nike, and he said the only thing he wished he could do different. Right? That was a question just a few seconds ago. He wished he could do it all over again. It gives me goosebumps just saying that. He could do it all over again. Great question. Thank you for asking. He wishes he could do it all over again. If you read the book, it's insane. Where Nike should not exist. They're going up against these companies that already exist. They're big shoe companies, they could get eaten alive. He goes out and takes so many risks. He shouldn't. Bowerman is his partner. He was a coach for Oregon running. And they're using waffle makers to come up with the tread for Nike. That's literally what Bowerman did. He was like, let me try this waffle iron. Let me try this waffle iron. That's what they ended up on the Nike shoes. Their shoes fall apart when they get wet when they first start. Yet the beautiful part of it, they're competing and they're getting money from banks and they're getting $1 million, and then the bank's like, hey, we're not going to give you any more money. And they're like, we can't make payroll. We got to shut down. And they started blue ribbon. They don't even start at Nike. It's funny how they get the name Nike, but you can read the book. Yet the truth of the matter is, he learned so much from the journey. Right? Most of us want to go to our past and get rid of our pain. We want to get rid of a piece of us. That pain, that past is a piece of us. I don't want to give away a piece of me because I love myself fully. And the more and more you love yourself fully, if you're sitting in this room, the less you want to get rid of your past. And Nike went through amazing transformations, amazing teamwork, right? And they didn't do it alone. It wasn't Phil Knight. It wasn't Bowerman. We can go over Johnson and anybody else that's in the book. Yet the truth of the beauty is they got together as a team. They didn't give up on each other. And they achieved something amazing because they were there for the journey. They weren't there because they knew they were going to create the biggest shoe company in the world. Nobody knows that, right? The Steve Jobs, nobody knows at the end. You connect the dots looking backwards, you can't connect them looking forward. Nobody knows that. Yet if we can embrace the journey, we go man, I'm getting something from this. I'm going to wake up today and get something from my life. That's where beauty comes in. And it shines light on the darkness.
I know, it's so good. Okay, this is a bit of a tangent on the Nike Bowerman thing. Have you ever seen the movie No Limits about Prefontaine?
Yeah, I have seen it, which is somewhat sad.
Yeah.
Somewhat amazing story on what he would go through and what he was just, you have to be a little crazy.
And he loved pain. He could, Prefontaine, I forget his first name. Prefontaine's his last name. He was this really talented high school runner. He gets recruited to Oregon State. Oregon, sorry. Oh my God, sorry. I don't know. Oh yeah, sorry. No.
Not the Beavers, the Ducks.
He gets recruited. All he wants to do is go run for Bowerman, and he breaks the four minute mile record. And Bowerman didn't like him at the beginning because he would run balls out the whole way. And Bowerman was like, you gotta pace yourself and, have strategy and all this stuff. And he was like, no. He's like, I love pain. I can withstand more pain than anybody else. I don't need to pace myself. There is no strategy. I'm not racing against anybody else. So watch that. Tell me, what was your biggest aha moment?
Oh, goodness. Okay, I'll tell you this. I think I missed this in my story. I want to say it, so I'm going to use this for it. My biggest aha moment was you guys already heard the Michael Burnoff, so he has a different event, right? Because everybody in personal development has the event that you're going to get to the next event. And so I go to his other event, and it's like, you're at a higher level, so you're going to go to a different event. And it was different. I walk in a room, there's much less people, so there's like, I think 70 people. I'm the last person in the room. Which I forgot. Yeah, anyways, so I enter the doors, everybody's already sitting in like this U shape. And he's like, hey, why are you late? I'm like, oh man, I had to work, which was true. And he's like, oh, okay, so you had to work? I was like, yeah, I had to work. And he's like, oh man, really? Okay, well, how would you fucking take your life serious? And I was like, whoa, you don't know me. You don't know me. Son, you don't know me. That's what I thought, right? But what I thought was like, okay, thank you. I feel like I'm doing this shit. I'm gonna sit in my chair.
Just inside, the inner assholes, like.
This is really fun, so fun. You know what I'm saying? I pay a lot of money for this. This is really I go home that night, I'm like, this motherfucker. I'm like, whoop, he's tall. I play football. I know how to take him out of the knees.
Get to it.
Okay. You gotta have some comedy in here. So, what I learned that day was I went home and I allowed myself to take you don't take your fucking life serious. And the crazy part was, he knew me better than I knew myself. Right? He didn't know me, but he knew me. And he knew I didn't take my life serious, and I did. And I went home. And after I thought about it, I processed it, I went like, he's so right. It's the reason it hurts so much. It sucked. I didn't take my life serious. I didn't know what that even meant. I just felt lost. I wanted something different. Porn, drugs, alcohol, they all ate me alive. He said other comments like that as our relationship evolved. But that was the biggest aha, was like, I don't take my life serious. And the reason it was so, poignant in my life was because he said it so bluntly. He wasn't like, hey man, life's tough, life sucks. He's like, you don't take your fucking life serious. And if you want something different, you better start. And I went like, damn, he's right. I better start. I better start figuring out who I am. I better start figuring out what I want. I better start figuring out my past and go like, what can I get from this?
Like
Instead
your
of
purpose?
What's that?
Like your purpose?
Like your purpose. And like the pain is there for a reason. That was my biggest aha. Don't take your fucking life serious.
And I think there's a lesson there, for sure. Like when we work in this program, when we surround ourselves with people that have something we want or whatever it is, when you are in a situation where you are there to change, people that challenge you to change really fucking piss you off, right? Every time. And that was such a pivotal time for you because you could have just said, fuck you,
Yep.
right?
Luckily, I made a ton of money, so I came back.
And, right, to be challenged always comes from a place of love.
It better. Yeah, like if you don't come from a place of love when you're challenging somebody, it's going to come inauthentic and it's going to be a fight.
For sure.
But if I say hey, you can fucking do better because I love you, it depends on where your heart is, right? If you're in your head, it can be a fight. If you're in your heart, let's get started.
Yeah.
Say it again. Repeat.
Yeah.
If you come at somebody from your head, it's going to be a fight. If you come at somebody with your heart, we can get started together. Like if I say something harsh to somebody, it's because I see greater inside you than you see inside yourself. That's the reason Michael said that. Like he knew there was better inside me than what I was giving to the world. Luckily, he had the balls to say, you don't take your fucking life serious. Show up on time. Do better. He didn't say man, life sucks. Hey, it makes sense. You were late for work you were late here because you had to work. My life would be vastly different. But he came at it from a place of love. because he saw better in me than I saw myself. And it gave me an opportunity to see something different inside myself.
Last question. What does pain look and feel like in your life today?
Ooh, today, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what pain we're talking about, right? There's physical, there's mental, there's like my uncle shot himself in the head a few years ago. It still hurts my heart. Like, that's painful. You know, I learned like I can lose somebody in my life because we're all going to lose somebody in our life, and I don't have to go back to using. I cried like for hours. Sat in my car just pissed. And I realized like that pain was okay because he meant something to me. I became grateful for that pain because he meant something to me. Like, I wouldn't be pissed if like I knew somebody else, and I don't mean this like cold-heartedly, but like there's people that die every day. Like, I don't cry for them. I don't cry for them years later. Yet I see pain as my greatest vehicle to the greatest need. But I said at the end, I want to empower you guys to be the best you. If you're going to be the best you, you're not going to get there in any other vehicle, I believe, than pain. Right? Like, the running sucks. Every day I get up and do it, I go like, I hate this. And then when I get done, I go like, I'm better today than I was yesterday because I got out here. Like, before I ran the 200 days straight, like, I never ran a week straight. I don't think I ran more than 5 days straight. We like ran the 50 miler a couple of years ago, and even during that training, I ran like day here, day there, because I was like, I hate running all over, dude. So I chose this because I was like, I gotta see what more pain looks like. It is my greatest teacher. It is my best worst friend. I will say that again. It is my best worst friend. Meaning, like, drugs and alcohol were actually my worst friend, right? Like, if you write a letter to your drug or alcohol, which most of you guys do in treatment somewhere, like, it sucks. Like, you're not like, I love you, you're my bestie. Yeah, running a leash when I go like, you're my worst friend, yet you treat me the best. Because you show me how great I am. Pain shows you on the other side, in the beginning there's fear, in the beginning there's disbelief that you can do it. On the other side of that is greatness, right? If you want to hear a great video, go check out Will Smith. Like, he talked about jumping on a plane. It's an amazing video. Nick, I sent it to you. Yet again, like, it's not my fault these things have happened to me. It's my responsibility what I do with it. And that's what Michael was telling me that day. It's not your fault, it's your responsibility. We gotta find what we can want to be more responsible for and go do it. But pain is, I tell my wife this when we get a disagreement, I'm grateful for the disagreement, because now we can get better. If I never fail, if I never have pain, it never shows me what I can refine myself to get better at. You can either define or refine yourself. Be careful what stories you use to define yourself, and realize that with self-talk and with action, you can always refine yourself. There is no finish line, except for death. That's the only one I know of so far. But if you think you're going to arrive anywhere, it's not going to happen. You're getting worse, or you're getting better. There is no finish line. Go get it. Empower yourself. Find some pain that you're willing to endure. Find a teammate that you're willing to grab onto when you feel that pain and you're afraid of it. Get yourself in action. Empower yourself. You'll find more love on the other side of the pain. Love for yourself.
Fuck yeah. Thank you so much. That's